This story is about a very hard-working woman whose name is Mrs. Amati, the wife of late Mr. Amati. The widow woke up before sunrise, as she did every day. Her small bag was light, her shoes old and worn, and her stomach empty. She had skipped breakfast to save money for her son, Daniel Chinedu Amati, who needed his school fees paid today. The bank was far, and she didn't have enough for transport, so she decided to walk part of the way, adding every naira she saved to the little she was about to get from the bank. Each step made her legs ache, but she kept moving, thinking only of Daniel and the future she was working silently to build for him. Before we continue this interesting story, please subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification button for more stories. Alright, back to our story. So by the time she reached the bank, sweat dampened her blouse, and her back ached from the weight of her bag. She paused, took a deep breath, and straightened her back before stepping inside. The people around her glanced at her, some with curiosity, some with indifference. She held her head high, telling herself quietly, "I've come this far. I cannot turn back now." The bank hall was cold and quiet, filled with the soft hum of computers and the occasional rustle of papers. She approached the counter nervously, holding her documents tightly. Every glance from other customers made her feel small, but she reminded herself to stay composed. Her son's future depended on this transfer. She repeated silently, "Just a few more minutes. I can do this." Mr. Lawson, the branch manager, glanced at her papers with impatience. His lips pressed together. "Madam, your account doesn't meet priority standards," he said flatly. She tried to explain politely, but he waved her off. Other customers looked on. One whispered quietly to her child, "See? Some people just don't have enough." Her hands shook as she held the papers. She felt her cheeks burn. Humiliation settled in her chest like a heavy stone. She wanted to cry. She wanted to run away. But she couldn't. Daniel was waiting. Her sacrifices, her long nights, her skipped meals, they all mattered for him. She swallowed hard, took a deep breath, and stepped aside quietly, letting the manager finish with the next customer. Back at work, she filed reports, made coffee for her colleagues, and corrected mistakes that weren't hers. No one thanked her. No one noticed. She didn't mind. Her reward was Daniel, sitting at home, dreaming of a better life. At home, she found Daniel asleep at the study table, his small desk cluttered with borrowed books. She covered him with a thin blanket and whispered, "Eat first, Daniel. Mama will wait." Her heart ached from exhaustion and hunger, but she smiled quietly. His success was worth every struggle. She sat alone in the dim light of the living room, thinking of her late husband, Chinedu Amati. If he were here, he would have been proud of their son. A pang of sadness hit her, but she buried it deep. There was no time to grieve fully. Daniel's future was at stake. The next week, she returned to the bank. She clutched her savings tightly, adding it to the transfer she was about to make. Her legs ached from walking, her hands shook from anxiety, but she refused to let fear control her. Mr. Lawson noticed her again. "You again," he muttered. He glanced at her papers and waved them away. "Your account doesn't meet requirements. Come back when you have more funds." She felt every word like a slap. Humiliation burned in her chest. Tears threatened to spill, but she blinked them back. Other customers stared. Few whispered. One man said, "She shouldn't even be here." She held her papers tighter, feeling small, invisible, and powerless. Her knees trembled, but she straightened her back, whispering to herself, "For Daniel. Just a little more patience." She stepped aside, waiting silently, her heart pounding. She had endured years of small struggles, unnoticed work, skipped meals, and now this. Her dignity felt fragile, yet intact. She refused to cry here. A senior bank official, Mr. Adeyemi, arrived for a routine inspection. He paused when he saw the widow's papers. "Is this for Daniel Chinedu Amati?" he asked. She nodded quietly. Her heart raced, hope flickering. Mr. Adeyemi reviewed her documents. "He qualifies for partial educational support through our bank's program," he said softly. The transaction was completed immediately. The humiliation faded quietly, replaced by relief. She walked out slowly, legs weak, back aching, but her heart felt lighter. No one cheered. No one noticed. But she had won quietly. The future she fought for was intact. She took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. "Daniel," she whispered softly, dialing his number. "Daniel, it's done. The school transfer, it went through. Everything is okay." On the other end, Daniel's voice was a mix of disbelief and joy. "Really, Mama? You did it?" "Yes, my son. You can go to school without worry. Mama never gave up, and now it's done." She felt tears welling up, but this time they were tears of relief and happiness. Daniel promised to study hard, and she smiled quietly, knowing her long years of patience had finally borne fruit. Daniel grew up disciplined, focused, and humble. He graduated, started a steady career, and began supporting his mother, ensuring she no longer had to struggle for every meal or penny. Daniel met Miriam Okoye, a calm, intelligent, and humble young woman. She valued family, integrity, and quiet perseverance, the exact lessons Daniel had learned from his mother. Daniel and Miriam married in a simple, joyful ceremony. The widow watched from the back, tears streaming, feeling years of pain melt into pride. She finally had the peace she deserved. Meals were warm, her house was comfortable, and she could rest without worry. Every hardship, every humiliation, every skipped meal had led to this quiet fulfillment. Daniel and Miriam built a modest home filled with love and respect. The widow saw her teachings reflected in every action of her son: discipline, humility, and kindness. She remembered Mr. Lawson, the manager who had humiliated her. No apology came, but she didn't need one. Her patience, sacrifice, and quiet endurance had spoken louder than his words ever could. Her years of work and endurance had created more than money. They had shaped Daniel's character. He was disciplined, humble, and grateful, carrying forward the lessons of perseverance she had taught him. She sat quietly, watching her son and his wife prepare dinner. Tears rolled freely this time, not from pain but from relief and pride. Her life, once full of struggle, had become a story of silent victory. No more skipping meals. No more walking long distances to save a few naira. She could enjoy her days, laugh freely, and live without fear of judgment. Her dignity and self-respect were restored. She thought of Daniel's bright future and the life he was building. Every hardship she endured now seemed worth it. Her silent sacrifices had finally borne fruit. The widow smiled softly, looking at Daniel and Miriam. Her story of patience, endurance, and love had created a future she could finally enjoy. Have you ever been underestimated or humiliated while working hard for someone you love? How did you keep going when no one noticed your sacrifices? Share your story in the comments. Your courage might inspire someone watching today. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. See you next Sunday. Enjoy your week. Bye.